advice did you follow that everyone thought was stupid? When I was 22, my grandma gave me a piece of advice that everyone else laughed at. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, never turn your hobby into your career. Find a job that pays well enough to protect the things you actually love. At the time, I thought it sounded completely backwards. Every motivational speaker online was saying, follow your passion, and all my friends were chasing careers they were supposedly obsessed with. One wanted to be a photographer. Another was trying to become a full-time graphic designer. And I was studying creative writing because I dreamed of publishing novels one day. My grandma had spent 40 years working as an accountant. She wasn't glamorous, but she'd retired comfortably. She told me, the fastest way to hate something you love is to make your rent depend on it. I rolled my eyes. What did an accountant know about happiness? Still, the word stuck with me. A few months later, I started noticing something. The graduates from my department weren't getting dream jobs. Most were fighting over unpaid internships, freelance gigs, or part-time work that barely covered groceries. Meanwhile, I met a woman through a family friend who managed industrial purchasing for a manufacturing company. It wasn't exciting. Honestly, I didn't even know the job existed, but she explained that companies always needed people who could negotiate contracts, manage suppliers, and solve expensive problems. She made 6 figures, worked from home 3 days a week, had incredible benefits, and almost nobody my age was applying because everyone thought the job sounded boring. That's when my grandma's advice came back. I switched majors. Everyone thought I'd completely lost my mind. My classmates couldn't believe I'd leave creative writing for supply chain management. One friend actually laughed and said, you're choosing spreadsheets over stories? Another told me I'd regret wasting my 20s doing a job nobody dreams about. Even my parents were confused. My mom asked, if you don't love it, how will you stay motivated? But I wasn't giving up writing. I was just refusing to make it responsible for paying my bills. The first year after graduation wasn't glamorous. I spent my days comparing supplier quotes, tracking inventory delays, and sitting through meetings about shipping costs. It sounded painfully dull whenever people asked what I did, but every few months my salary increased. Companies kept recruiting me because experienced people kept retiring. Then the supply chain chaos hit. Suddenly businesses were desperate for anyone who actually knew how to keep products moving. Recruiters started calling me instead of the other way around. Within 4 years, I doubled my salary. I negotiated another raise simply because my manager admitted replacing me would cost even more. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. Because I wasn't emotionally exhausted from trying to monetize my passion, I started writing again. Only this time there was no pressure. I wrote on weekends because I wanted to, not because I needed to pay rent. I finished my first novel, then another. I self-published one just for fun. It earned enough to pay for a vacation, which felt amazing because I didn't need the money. Writing became enjoyable again. Some of my college friends weren't so lucky. A few confessed they'd started hating photography because every client wanted endless revisions. One stopped making art altogether because she'd spent years turning every sketch into content for social media. Another admitted she hadn't written anything she actually enjoyed in 3 years because every project had become about paying bills. Last year I bought my first house. No student loan stress, no credit card debt. And every evening after work, I sit on my back porch with a cup of tea and write stories because I genuinely want to.